Next up, we pay our first proper visit to the snappily named Brentford Community Stadium. I wonder if they held a competition for that name. We'll be hosted there by Brentford, obviously. Kick-off on Sundays at 2 p.m. So, Brentford then. There was a lot of red ink on the ledger up to the beginning of March, which, after a promising start which saw them gain a few points, if few friends, meant they were casting a few nervous glances over their shoulders. However, a friendly fixture list in March saw them face Norwich and Burnley in quick succession, which saw them bolster the points total. A reverse at Leicester saw them take stock before last weekend's coupon-busting win at Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea forgot that Lampard was no longer the boss and capitulated to a 4-1 home defeat, to ensure, in all probability, that Brentford get another spell in the top flight. They're currently in 16th spot with 33 points from the 31 games they've played. Given the general lousiness of Watford and Norwich, and the fact that Everton have elected to employ a manager without looking at his CV, they ought to be okay. Daisy tells me that they've made one major signing in the winter window, and it was a significant one for all sorts of reasons. Christian Eriksen would, in all likelihood, still be plying his trade in Serie A, were the Italian authorities more lenient on the subject of players playing with on-board life-saving electronics, such devices being outlawed under the rules they have out there. I guess the medics know what they're up to, but nobody wants to see anything like that happen again. Few would begrudge the player a continuation of his career following the dreadful scenes at the Euros, and as he's bedded in, he's become increasingly influential in keeping them up, particularly in last week's comedy show at the Money Laundry. Top scorer this season is Ivan Toney, 11 of whose 13 goals have come in the league. He's had some interesting column inches in the press in recent times. Now, not that I keep account of such things, but at one stage he was electing not to take the pre-match knee on the grounds he felt that players were being used as puppets, and I quote. Which is an interesting point. Whatever one's views on the taking of the knee, it is, I suppose, quite refreshing to see a player at least trying to think for himself. Tony is also one of the few players this season to have picked up a caution for diving, something that's dogged his career for quite some time now. He was also forced to make a grovelling apology to Bees fans when a video of him on holiday in Dubai emerged, in which he invited Brentford to go forth and multiply, only in the usual Anglo-Saxon manner. Bees fans were not overly impressed, it's fair to say. Half a season in the Premier League and he thinks he's bigger than the club was one of the more printable comments. Daisy tells me they've no significant injury worries for last week, so one might expect them to line up pretty much as they did at Chelsea. With not much more to say about Brentford, let's move on, shall we? To the wild and wacky world of association football. And UEFA have come up with more rules on financial sustainability. The official reason for this is that the original rules had, quote, served their purpose, unquote. Unofficially, the reason for the new rules is that Manchester City's lawyers had shown that if you actually are a country, you can pretty much ignore the rules anyway. So, will the new rules herald a new dawn of financial transparency and honesty? I wouldn't bank on it, given that the clubs involved had a major say in writing the rules in the first place. So we could look out for UEFA bringing disciplinary proceedings under some such rule or other, only to receive a letter from the lawyers pointing out that Section 9, Paragraph 8a says none of this will apply to Man City. Elsewhere, and rather amusingly, after only a couple of months in charge at Everton, Lampard Jr.'s employers are beginning to realise there's a reason why he bombed at the helms of both Chelsea and Derby. That reason being he's a lousy manager. Lampard's position has already been the subject of discussion by the powers that be at Goodison Park, as the accountants start getting rather edgy over the prospect of a relegation. It may well be that the financial implications of dismissing the man that 10 men couldn't carry save him from a very early exit. A large payoff from a club staring the Championship down the barrel, with a squad full of players with no relegation salary clauses in their contract and minus a few million rubles thanks to Russian sanctions, may just be a little bit more than Everton could bear at the moment, which made Burnley's late winner after being 2-1 down the other night all the funnier. Let's move on to us, shall we? Has anyone found an explanation as to why a referee with a suspension for match fixing under his belt should be taking charge of a game at any level, let alone the quarter-final of a European competition? That performance had all the hallmarks of those late 60s, early 70s games when English sides would regularly get stitched up by referees on the take. By allowing Zvea to continue in a role in which he has demonstrated dishonesty, The Deutsche Fußballbund and UEFA have shown complete and utter contempt for the game and its supporters. In an ideal world, a performance like that would see UEFA hitting the referee with a heavy fine and a suspension. Instead, the club will soon be getting a bill for two morons who ran onto the pitch. A bill, incidentally, that they should pass on to the idiots themselves, and if it bankrupts them, good. Whilst on the subject of the referees, did anybody else notice that one of the linesmen refused to join the ref and the other assistant in the middle post-match? Maybe, just maybe, match officials are capable of shame after all. As for Lyon, well, the game is reaping what it's sown, isn't it? The diving and cheating cynical stuff is not only ignored by the media, but it's almost actively encouraged. All this stuff that if there's contact the player has a right to go down is a myth, perpetrated by those wanting to justify the actions of the likes of Liverpool, whose love affair with the BBC is enough to justify not paying the licence fee. It's not the case, and it never has been, and the sooner pundits start calling it out by identifying cheating for what it is, the better. Don't hold your breath, though. On the plus side, Crystal's red card doesn't count in the Premier League, the authorities only recognising corrupt cards issued by the PGMOL mafia. So he'll be available for this Sunday. The only other doubt, other than Ogbonna, is Lanzini, who's still a bit sore after his bit of stunt work the other week. So, on to the prediction. Well, all the diving and feigning of injury on Thursday night will have been good preparation for this one, Brentford having shown themselves to have studied higher level teams in that regard when we last met at our place. I sometimes think we need to be a little bit more streetwise in dealing with these tactics. I mean, I don't want to see us go all Liverpool by aiming for a dive at every possible opportunity, but we do seem to be suckered into these things from time to time. Matches straight after European nights are always difficult. We even lost to Spurs after one such fixture. They will be buoyed also by their result at Chelsea, though there's a danger of reading too much into that, given Chelsea are all over the place at the moment. Overall, I reckon that this one will finish up even, so the £2.50, with which I was going to bribe a whole bunch of UEFA referees, will instead be going on a draw. Make it 2-2, please, Mr. Winston, and enjoy the game.
So we're here in the offices of a Late Late Show with the host of a Late Late Show, James Corden.
Hi.
Big West Ham fan.
Yes. And big knees up Mother Brown, man.
Yeah.
Get on the forum at kumb.com. Come on, you irons.